my meeting got canceled, so I get to talk to myself instead, which is so much better. I just had an interesting talk with a friend of mine regarding media buying and practice in media buying, because we often get stuck in this is how things should be done, and it's very often, at least the public discussion of things, is very black and white, which means people are talking about you need X amount of ads in every ad set, and you need this amount of ad sets in the campaigns, and for the campaigns you need different strategies. That's the downside of recording in public. So the usual discourse is kind of talking about you need this amount of campaigns, and then you need 5 ad sets, and then you need 3 ads in each ad set, and then you have to divide and conquer, basically, which sometimes works, but the discussion never has any context, which brings me to the point of the discussion I had with my friend today regarding how much context actually matters in media buying and marketing, because most of the kind of tips you get are from people who are spending huge amount of money on ads and on ad accounts that use monthly budgets that maybe is a yearly budget for others, and most of them are usually from America or advertising in America, which gives them a pretty big audience and larger than most. The context you advertise in actually matters, because if you do the same strategy in let's say a very small country like where I'm from in Norway, and the same strategy in the US with the same budget, it doesn't work because the context is completely different. You have to think about how much budget there actually is to advertise with, as well as how big of an audience are you advertising towards. Because if your audience is 20 million people, then you can count on Meta to find those 20 million people with the right creatives. In a different context with a few people in the target audience or kind of the demographic you are wanting to target, you actually need to target them manually because of the lack of data that Meta usually needs to find those types of people. So you will reach limited learning or learning limited, whatever they call it these days, pretty quickly if you just kind of advantage plus the whole strategy. But with more content or bigger budgets, you might not do that. So the kind of setup and technical part of things isn't always black and white. It's more complicated than that, which is why you could definitely take something away from the kind of big advertisers and big accounts. It's a lot to learn from them, but you have to also kind of figure out in which context are you advertising, because for now at least there are huge differences. So a monthly budget of $700 or $700,000, vastly different. To put this to perspective, I had a discussion with an advertiser from the US a while ago. They kind of went the best practices route in the US, which meant they kind of did no targeting, and they just let the ads run with the creative and let the creative find their audience. They also spent many thousands of dollars every month on ads for each client. And again, if your audience is big enough and you have enough content to do that strategy, that definitely works, and it's getting better every month. So like I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, so that strategy might work in that context, but and it's improving because of AI, and Meta has implemented better and better AI, and it's learning. So it might work now in a smaller context, and we use Advantage Plus and AI models for advertising. but it doesn't necessarily translate from big budgets, big audiences to small budgets, smaller audiences, or kind of huge countries to smaller countries. You have to contextualize your advertising. It really, really matters. It's not one size fits all, which kind of ruins the discourse on it online, because there are so many best practices, which some of them definitely works, some of them are kind of you need to follow, but there is a lot of local context and different different advertising methods when it comes to varying budgets and geographics as well. You have to think about those things when you spend money on ads, because you need that ROI on your advertising, and all of the strategies are not translatable or kind of it's transferable to all contexts. So for me, it's just an important reminder that even though someone says something online and they might be correct in their context, it's not necessarily something you should implement. You should definitely look into it if it works for them, or if it's someone you talk to locally, especially, then you should look into it. But keep it in mind when kind of big brands or the biggest media houses in the world say something, it doesn't necessarily translate to you and your clients. It might work for Pepsi, but it might not work for your local restaurant or hairdresser. So context actually matters, and that's all I have to say today. Thank you for watching. More rants coming soon.